What's going on, Imperials? Evolution is the basis on which Pokemon is built. If you battle with your cute little buddy enough, he'll grow into a powerful fighting machine. But what about the in-betweens? Oftentimes, the middle stages of Pokemon get overlooked, which is a shame for some, but understandable for others. So, let's take a look at what I think are the top 6 best and worst middle evolutions. Number 6 worst, Clang. Object Pokemon are quite polarizing, especially in Generation 5. Clink is a pair of gears, which is meh, but then Clang simply adds one giant gear on the back and calls itself an evolution? That's nowhere near enough change. And what's worse is that his second face completely disappears. This weirdo is the epitome of laziness meeting a bad design. Number 6 best, Fletchender. Each region has its own tiny bird, and Talonflame is definitely one of the best. But his previous evolution, Fletchender, is not to be overlooked. He looks much more intimidating than some of the other middle birds. And his added fire typing makes him far more versatile and stand out from the crowd. This bird on fire is what turns a mediocre weakling into one of the biggest threats around. Number 5 worst, Brionne. When the Sun and Moon starters were revealed, it's safe to say Popplio was the least favorite. And then when it evolved, it became even worse for me. It looks like a living bubblegum shoved into a bunch of hoop skirts. There's just a general lack of cohesion in this line. The beginning and final stages are allowed to be different, but if the middle can't even bring them together, something is wrong, and Brionne fails in every regard. Number 5 best, Dusclops. Dusclops was an awesome ghost type added in Generation 3. It was the first time ghosts seemed to be getting its proper treatment. Dusclops had an impressive amount of power and decent enough bulk for a final evolution. But then Diamond and Pearl thought that wasn't good enough and gave him an evolution too. A good Pokemon that I already liked suddenly becoming a middle stage? I'm good with that. Number 4 worst, Gothorita. There are lots of Pokemon to forget in the 5th generation, and this one is up near the top. This whole line is just a bunch of gals who wanted to be goth, but not too goth, so they added a bunch of cutesy bows. Many middle stages are awkward, and even though there's a lot of ground to cover between Betty Boop's baby and the Queen of the Flapjacks, Gothorita disappoints, being oddly shaped, oddly colored, and has hair that's as big as its head. Number 4 best, Nidorino. The Nidorins are some of the best examples of what Pokemon should be, because they're nondescript monsters, but you can still tell what they are. And Nidorino is a great middle stage. He takes the previous design and amps it up and makes it look intimidating. And if you want to keep it that way, you just don't show it a Moonstone, and you get to keep your buddy forever. Number 3 worst, Palpitoad. Behold, Poliwhirl's dopey cousin. Palpitoad had a lot of work trying to bridge the timid Tympole with the plain ugly Seismitoad, but it still falls short. Why is it covered in boils? That's disgusting. Not only does it have a dumb face, but it takes up at least half of its body, which might explain why they didn't have room for the arms, only giving it tiny nubs. This half-baked wart potato leaves a lot to be desired. Number 3 best, Lairon. This is basically just a metal version of Nidorino. I can clearly see both other Pokemon in this one, which is a sign of a great middle stage. But the best part about Lairon is that he's a solid Pokemon in his own right. His design works with the other two, but it's not dependent on them. I could just have Lairon and be perfectly happy with this impressively armored quadruped. Number 2 worst, Quilladin. Lots of people have a problem with this one, and I completely understand. It's awkward beyond belief, where his once cute body is inflated to the point of being a bulbous circle with random limbs jutting off. And his face became extremely derpy. I understand why they made him this way, since he's a nut and has to prepare for being Chestnut, but boy if he's not absurd, which is a real shame because I love the other two. However, I will say that in my opinion, Quilladin is the only middle Kalos starter to improve when he evolves, since Delphox is a worse interpretation of Braixen, and, well, we know the problems I have with Greninja. Number 2 best, Quilava. I promise the Quill thing was not planned. Quilava looks amazing. He's cute, but also intimidating and a fierce battler. Personally, I like him better than his final form. I just love the mohawk of flames, and the ones in the back feeding into each other when he spins. Something like this would be an ideal pet in the real world, or an ideal companion in the world of Pokemon. The only downside is that in recent generations, he's mostly depicted without the flames, which really make the design. Number 1 worst, Pig Knight. Now we have the worst of the fire starters. This thing has the same problem as Palpitoad, in that his face is his torso, and his body is nothing but a plump oval. He looks like a deformed puppet wearing hideous overalls for some reason. Tepig was cute, Imbor is fine, but this is not the way to transition between them. This is the way to traumatize children. This is a repulsive and awkward Pokemon, and the epitome of what gives middle evolutions a bad name. Number 1 best, Grovyle. Now this is how you do it right. Grovyle's design is sleek and striking. There's clearly a lot of effort put into this design, as you can clearly see how it bridges the gap, but is also an amazing Pokemon in its own right. Some people like Grovyle better than Sceptile, which I understand because he's great. Grovyle marks the first time I've loved all 3 stages of a line equally. All 3 of these Pokemon are great, but the linchpin, that is this leafy Velociraptor, clearly demands to be recognized as one of the best middle evolutions of all time. So, there you have it. Those are some of the best and worst middle evolutions. Which middle stages do you like? Which do you hate? Let me know down in the comments. Also be sure to leave a like, share this video, and subscribe so that you too can become an Imperial today. And we'll see you around next time!